apparently, there was a hi, welcome. There was a if I could smurble. I was I'm trapped in a time loop. This is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Today it is March April the 57th, and in the year of our Lord 2099, Noid, and it's 7:75 o'clock in the morning. And the reason I think I'm trapped in a time loop is because I keep hearing the same dumb shit over and over again, as if I haven't already dealt with it. All right, so yeah, it's 75 o'clock somewhere. Thanks. I wore this jacket today. Sometimes I pick my jackets on how much I know they will irritate the right people, and I do mean right, and in some cases right, and in other cases not completely wrong. So, anyways, welcome. Glad you could be at the show. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, support the show, and I will eventually get an auto-triggering mute button. Damn it. In the meantime, Glenn Beck is trending for a fairly awful reason, that he's continued to be Glenn Beck. And this is, I'll give you an example real quick, if I can just jump right in here. This is making the rounds on Twitter right now. And this is Glenn Beck's take on this right now. And this is going to be a short little thing, but enjoy.
What new evidence do we have that we should mutilate the bodies of children?
I didn't know. I haven't been looking for that or whatever. I don't know what your Pornhub search results are, Glenn, but they frighten me.
Tell me the case. This, in a reasonable society, this would be debated a long time before it was ever even introduced.
By the way, they're talking about, transitioning trans kids, and it's a very important conversation. Again, a lot of middle ground. Glenn is going nowhere near this. This is just anti-trans gish galloping.
If it was introduced, it would get the people of the country to look at it and go, wait a minute.
Is that what they would say?
Make your case. Show me the evidence. That's what's happening overseas. It's not happening here because they're shutting everybody up.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're shutting everyone up. Okay.
Now,
and then
don't talk to me about book burners.
Why not? Oh, because you like that. I see.
When you are doing everything you can to shout people down and make them afraid to speak, you won't even get to the books.
Yeah, arguing. Look, arguing with this asshole is basically like burning the books he hasn't written. Fucking hell.
You don't have to. You just get to all the authors. You just get to everybody who can write a book or even make a decent argument against it, and you frighten them.
But maybe they don't have a decent argument. But that's why they get frightened.
Why this is bothering me so much.
I don't know, because focusing on 0.0053% of the populace is, and your fears about their sexuality or their expression keeps you up at night because it's the only area where you think you can manufacture an imaginary win.
It wasn't.
Oh, here it comes.
It wasn't the Nazis that were killing people, per se. It was the doctors that were Nazis that were killing people.
Both my grandfathers fought in World War II, and I think they would beg to differ. You fuck. Yeah, that's
Joseph Mengele.
Yes, was an awful person, but insofar as I know, never picked up a rifle until he did himself in.
He was operating within standard framework.
No, he was not. There's a concentration camp with a medical facility attached to it is not normal framework. All right, fucking gross. Anyways, meanwhile, that's why he's trending. Also, P.S. Whoops, where is he? So this is Glenn Beck, and then we go to videos real quick, and then where is he? He has his own little thing. This is him. Everybody's like, he brought up Agenda 21. He finally explained it in 2012, of which there isn't one. All right, but anyways, where was he? Oh, hey, no, it's not gonna be in there. Okay, hold on. Latest, let's see, Glenn Beck. This has been making the rounds, and along with this shit, and then he has this pastor on. Where is that? It's down in here. That's his bit. Oh wait, is this him? Yes, here it is. This is Glenn's idea of a perfect clip. Cowboy Glenn of the Wrangler Cowboy Clan. These are the guys who follow you into a jeans store and ask you to if you think girls will like them in these jeans, and you're like, dude, who are you? Yeah, this is a moment, if I may, of Glenn Beck picking a piece of his own to post on his timeline of his show about evil. We are surrounded on all four sides by evil.
Can you talk a little bit about evil as a force and the difference between fighting flesh and bone and principalities?
The guy is a pastor. I think he probably is capable.
Yeah. Well, it's
principalities.
As surely as there is a God in heaven who loves us, there's
enough orange pancake makeup to make him look like a chicken wing. I mean, sorry. Go ahead.
Devil headed to hell who hates us.
Doesn't he live in hell? Doesn't he freely come to Earth? I don't know what. Like, I'm not up on the latest mythology. Glenn doesn't seem to be buying it either. You tell me all about this evil as a thing. Okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to justify me shooting my neighbor because they've got a demon inside them. Go. It's murder if it's a person, but if there's a demon inside them, give me some whacking area. All right.
And he's a fallen angel known as Lucifer.
Oh, see, I was not. Does anybody know this? This is amazing.
We call him Satan.
Do we? I prefer Beelzebubba, but that's just me.
The Bible calls him the prince of the power of the air.
Of the air? What air are we talking about? He's got more. This dude's got more titles than Apollo Creed.
And so that speaks of a realm of demonic powers that.
Yes, the air is full of demons. This makes total sense. Thank you, sir. I feel so much better.
Are under him, which are.
Yes, the air that's under him is full of evil.
Fallen angels that do his bidding. There's one devil. He's not.
Win big, mama's fallen angel. Now you got a Poison song stuck in my fucking head. Thanks, dude. That's evil. Now that is evil. She stepped off a bus out into the city streets. Right? See what I mean? Now it's stuck in your head. The evil spreads through the air. Sorry. What an asshole.
The equal of God. God is all-knowing. Satan is limited knowledge. God is all-powerful. Satan is limited power.
All right. Well, then I don't even know what I'm worried about.
God is omnipresent, present everywhere. Satan can only be in one place at one time.
Strictly speaking, as the embodiment of evil, alleged in the said documents you're referring to. I kind of think that doesn't, I don't know, is this canon? Are we going to have to switch the whole fucking thing up? I mean, I just watched Morpheus, and I don't know how much to add to the overall canon, whether that's a keeper or are you sure we're not in Rocky V territory? God made the devil on purpose. Exactly. So that free will would actually have meaning. This is silly. I love this guy's description, though. It's just fantastic.
But he has these demon forces. And
yeah, well, of course he'd have to, because he can only be in one pair at once. I mean, we're all overwhelmed. I mean, I've got to be evil over here, and I've got to be evil over there, and it's just little old me. And I'm rushing about. I'm getting my tail caught in the door. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to need some little demonlets. Can I have some demon drumsticks that run around? Oh, here's one.
His agenda. Jesus summed it up very clearly.
Oh, good. Yeah, so you couldn't have jumped straight to this bullshit instead of...
This is a thief, speaking of Satan, comes only to steal, kill, and destroy.
Well, I got to argue, I wouldn't call that person a thief. I think it's an awkward thing. But if you have a thief just steals. Once they kill and destroy, I think thieving is the least of our worries, right? Nobody gives a fuck about, like, he murdered this whole family, destroyed an entire city block, and he pilfered the refrigerator, took all the cottage cheese. He's hey, you know that guy? Yeah, he murdered thousands, slaughtered them. Just a violent sexual assaulter, burned villages to the ground. Yep. He's also a thief. Oh, dear God.
But then he contrasted himself with that and said, but I have come, Jesus speaking, to give...
Oh, la-di-da. But oh, my. I'm not like that. I'm not like this pig. Ugh. Did God do that? But
give you life and that more abundantly. So here's our choice, life or death.
Life or theft, I think was what you were kind of saying. You've lost me. I am completely lost. I don't know what, I don't think it's possible to know what the fuck this guy's talking about.
God says in scripture.
Yeah, all right. A lot has been said. Glenn asked you a minute and a half ago, how the fuck you battle the idea of evil or evil in the world. And this is what we've got so far.
I set before you death and life, blessings and curses.
Yeah, and choose between the two, beatings or candy. It's a clear and stark choice. Why would you? Yeah.
Choose life that you may live. It's almost like a teacher in a classroom.
It's almost like a t-shirt on Wham. Wake me up before you go. Choose life. Remember the big, I'm a big fan of Choose Less Evil. I have a t-shirt you can get if you want. Just merch plug.
And they're giving the final exam and they're saying you have.
Oh, no. I knew it. I knew there would be a pop quiz. Fuck. Is this going to go, how much, in terms of whether I end up in heaven or hell, how much is this final exam on my grade?
To get this question right to pass the exam. By the way, here's the answer to the question.
Oh, well, that's just cheating.
And God's saying, here's life. It's before you. Life, death, you choose. By the way, I love how he puts in choose.
He's lost Glenn entirely. Glenn has moved on to his next question and is falling asleep. And this motherfucker is just blathering.
Life. Like I'm telling you, do this. But it is our choice. And so every day we have a choice to even as a Christian, to yield to Satan and his temptation.
I got to say, I think that's kind of like, dietary restrictions. I think you remove that choice entirely. I'm going to go with just, yeah, I don't know that you would go, all right, today, let's see, as a Christian, do I choose Satan today? I mean, it is a Friday, and that's when all the fun happens. Is it to do, but no? No.
Temptations and his enticements and our selfishness and our pride and all the things that we do. or to yield to God and to, as a Christian, to open his word, to pray, to be humble before him. You know, the funny thing here.
Now, notice how, like, the rest of it, all the things he's kind of pointing to have to do with just being alive, like pride and those kind of things, like any varying degrees of just going, "Yeah, it's a pretty good job mowing the lawn," lightning bolt. But what it means to be good is to read the Bible, pray, and praise, which is this like permanent church. Fucking
We're
hell.
talking about
I can't speed this dickhead up because there's not a double time. I don't think on this is on Twitter.
The last thing you want to do is serve someone else, but the reality is the Bible teaches.
I don't know if it's the last thing. I mean, sometimes it can be really nice. I get my girlfriend a cup of coffee every morning.
If you lose your life, you find your life. That's what Jesus.
Okay, this dude reads scripture straight out of a blender and pulls out strips of Bible verses, I think, like they're fucking fortune cookies.
Jesus said. And when you help others, they actually have a term for it. It's called the helper's high. It's
that's in 3 Corinthians.
the medical term that they use to describe the release of endorphins when you help somebody.
Don't go sciencey on me now, dickhead.
Or do something for someone besides yourself. So we think it's all about me. Get everything I can and I'll be happy.
Yeah, that's Glenn. That's what Glenn's thinking right now. He's like, how can I attack people and still pretend to be Jesus-like? You're supposed to help me, and now this is just gibberish.
Bible teaches the opposite. It's actually about others, giving out.
What a bunch of commie bullshit. What are you talking about? This is what Ayn Rand was on about. You get what the fuck? What do you mean others? The community?
But ultimately,
this is not what Glenn wanted to hear this morning.
Starting with receiving from God. So there is a devil. He's active. And I believe it's...
Well, he has to be. There's only one of them. He can't. I mean, he's running around like a Satan with his head cut off.
Satan literally whispering in the ears of these young people today.
Well, I mean, how could he?
Your life, nobody cares about you. Mm-hmm. You don't matter.
That's what it ends on. Yeah. And this is a clip that Glenn posted on his Twitter. Like, how can I sum up the conversation that I had with this pastor on my podcast? What moment between the two of us really shores up the entire conversation and lets people know in a nutshell what a fucking nutcase we both are? Holy shit. What a waste of time. And this is, by the way, he floats that up on the same day that that there's this thing circulating that he's that he's like, it wasn't the Nazis that killed people per se. It was the Nazis' medical profession that millions of dollars a week this asshole makes. I'm just saying, this is how do you even compete with just that level of absolute horseshit? I mean, like, that idiocy is the baseline requirement for having the audience that he has or Russell has or Jimmy has or any of those folks. Like, you can't make sense and maintain that audience because you will eat your own talking points at some point and they will hate you for it. So you've just got to toss your own salad, word salad, every day and hope no one notices. Now, if I may, God help us. Breaking Point's had Marianne on for the same reason it usually, and I might duck out of this because it can only take so much. And Trump is spoke at the NRA. Where is that? It's in here somewhere. Here it is. Yeah. I love guns. I love gun. So, Marianne went on, on, I guess this is even on TikTok. I don't know why the fuck that's part of an interview. Marianne exposes how neoliberals failed Americans in general. Why am I see-through right now? Hold on. Hold on. Now I've got to fix my filter. The heck? 1 second. Editing the filters. Taking the thing. Let's see, we'll raise this up. I was trying to... Whoops. Oh no, I want to go down. I'm like Marty McFly. Okay, that's better. Yeah. Yes, I was turning into a ghost. It was terrifying. By the way, this is the standard shot that she's using right now, and I don't know why. I don't know why she picked it. Because it looks like vacant and condescending. Those seem to be the two. And you tell me what I'm projecting onto this photograph, but it's the same with Trump. They use the same one over and over again. And maybe they grabbed it, whatever. But everybody's going for the same one. It's very strange. Okay, here we go. Since we're on a spiritual tack and it's Bad Friday. Apparently last week was Good Friday, so we're back to having Bad Fridays. Let's see.
Well, if the presidential election were held today on what is one of the biggest social media platforms in the country, in fact, the biggest, certainly under people among 50 years old, the winner of that prize would be none other than Marianne Williamson.
That's right.
Wouldn't even be close. Absolute landslide blowout victory.
So we're joined by the president-elect of TikTok now.
President-elect of TikTok herself.
Oh, right. Yeah. That's the idea that in the TikTok polls, that's what she supposedly went, which is, by the way, meant to be them mocking her and also just understand the conversation that's happening about TikTok right now and the company behind it.
Marianne Williamson joins us now. Marianne, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
And so what do you make of this Marianne mania that has been gripping TikTok, and how did you...
Marianne mania that is gripping TikTok, a site, by the way, aimed at 13-year-olds.
Learn, actually, that you've become such a kind of cultural phenomenon on this app.
No, you are doing well on the meme app. This is all irony. They're fucking with you, Marianne, and if you can't see this, you absolutely do not belong anywhere near the levers of power.
Well, you know, part of my decision-making about whether or not to run had to do with taking a college tour. I spoke at 8 colleges and universities because I wanted to get a sense of where younger people were and whether...
A lot of times they're not in college.
They would see me and whether I would see them and whether there would be any connection in terms of what I wanted to do as a candidate and hopefully one day as a president. And so I feel I understand the alignment between what I have to say and younger people. You know,
yes, they're gullible. They have less to reflect on. They haven't been bamboozled enough yet to have to tap the brakes when someone sells them pie in the sky horseshit. I understand the appeal. I know a lot of comics that tour colleges because it's the only way they can get laid. Because everywhere else, the world is full of grown women who know better.
Gen Z, they're not even 20th century people. Most of these kids in college today weren't even born in the 20th century, or if they were.
Yes, we know they're practically children.
Or they just hung out there for a few years as babies.
Yeah, that's what you do. Babies just hang out. That's what they do.
And so they have a visceral sense that they are living their lives at the effect of bad ideas left over from the 20th century.
Yes. Like the industrial age. And,
Every generation wants to individuate. Every person does. But this generation is individuating from a century and from a millennium. They want to build on what worked.
No. All right, fucking hell. Gen Z is not quitting the entire modernization. They're like, you know what? Fuck everything that happened from the year 1001 on. I don't like these millenniums. Yeah, I hate millennials so much. I'm gonna hate culture and growth in the world on 1,000-year scales.
And they want to cut the cord and start over again with a.
No, they don't. And if they do, it's because they're fucking children. None of them want to cut the cord. None of them are volunteering to be contestants on Naked and Afraid New Nation. They're all on their fucking phones nonstop, and none of them are like, if you took it away from me and go, hey, yeah, congratulations, just start from scratch. What did you do? Why'd you take my phone? Well, you hate everything that was created in the last 1,000 years. So here's your flint spear, and someone wrote on a piece of parchment how to make black powder, but I don't know what to tell you. Good luck, and I'm going to need back every garment that you have that has buttons or zippers on it. Get the fuck out of here.
A lot of things, and that's my agenda, and they hear me.
What's your agenda? To take us back to a time before we industrialized and developed agriculture as between nations? We need to go back before this whole democracy thing.
And the fact that their pain is recognized by my campaign, they don't want to hear this BS about how the economy is doing well. Last night I spoke to at Yale University. I said something at Yale.
I've spoken at Yale as well. And?
But I also said at Stanford, and I saw all these.
Oh, well, I have not spoken to Stanford, so you're one up on me.
These kids nod their head. I said, even with a degree from one of these schools, you know you're not going to be able to afford the house that your parents had.
Of course not, because they're at Yale and Stanford. Their parents' house cost $27 million. They're going to get it when their parents pass, or their dad divorces their 20-something stepmom, Bunny Lebowski.
You know that it's going to, all of this neoliberal trickle-down economic theory that so holds down the majority of people. On some level, it will hold you down too.
On some level, yes. And on the way that most of them will eventually probably have taxes raised on capital gains.
And even if the system says to you, oh, we'll let you in because it needs the best and the brightest to.
Yeah, just because you're the best and the brightest. Don't think for a second you're going to get the best. Well, you are going to get the best, but not all of it. Some of what you get is going to be, frankly, the best. But, a couple of you who might be here on scholarship will, obviously you're going to make friends with people who are probably going to give you a big job and you're going to start a tech firm together or whatever. None of us knows exactly where the economy is going in terms of, the chat GPT. It's mind-boggling. Anyways, where was I? Oh, yes, you're all rich. And...
to perpetuate itself, don't allow yourself to be seduced, because it's not okay for you to live your life where everything's okay at the expense of pain and suffering for the majority of people.
Yeah, I don't know that most of them are planning that. I think they're just trying to get an MBA.
Young people hear that, and I'm glad that they do.
Well, the ones that would come to hear you speak, perhaps, that aren't doing it because they get a credit in their women's studies program or in their political science program or in their arts, creativity, and lunacy minor or whatever.
And there are a bunch of different types of clips of yours that have gone viral. Some are kind of speeches of yours from the 1980s and 90s. Some are clips from the
ones that I was present at.
Your 2020 presidential campaign. I want to play one here, though. That this is from the.
Oh. Marianne doesn't seem to be comfortable right now when they start talking. Let me play a clip of you from
the current presidential campaign. Been viewed, many millions of times. Let's play that one.
Many millions of millions on TikTok.
Here.
What are you going to do when you first get there? First thing I'm going to do is cancel the Willow Project. I'm also going to cancel all student debt. I'm going to declassify marijuana from a Schedule I drug, in addition to auditing the
Fed,
the Pentagon.
The Pentagon, right?
Also, I want to cancel. We're going to immediately.
By the way, they do audit the Pentagon.
immediately cancel all government contracts with union busting companies. And we're going to really bolster the NLRB, and we're going to really bolster everything involved with supporting unions. One of the first things I'll do is put together a conference where I hear from the best experts in this.
I know the best people. We have stupid people doing our stupid things. I will get the best people together. Oprah, Gary Busey.
Country on everything related to childhood. You know, John Kennedy said, in 10 years, we'll land a man on the moon. You know what I'm going to say to you? Within 10 years, every public school, this is my vision, that every public school in the United States would be a palace of learning and culture and the arts.
And what struck me about that clip is that it kind of combines cultural critique and cultural issues with kind of with class war, with corruption, with a pro-worker agenda. You don't see a lot of candidates talking about NLRB or getting into the weeds on.
What? Biden literally ran on being the most pro-union president in the last fucking, 57 years? 56 years? 57 if you're including the year ran before. What?
In the way that the federal government could cancel contracts with union busting or non-union firms. So is that...
By the way, that's all of North and South Carolina. Any right-to-work state, any company that's in a right-to-work state would automatically, under that, have their contract canceled. So every worker that works at those places would automatically lose their job. So which is not, I mean, it's beyond even arguing the point. It won't happen. She can't. This is not, again, this goes to like, I will cancel all student debt. You cannot, as president, cancel all student debt. It is not possible. It isn't possible. Everybody who tells you that the president could, with a stroke of a pen, just erase all student debt, also would, I guess, like a world where Donald Trump could have erased all of Boeing and Raytheon's debt with a stroke of a pen, because there is no, debt is debt as far as the law is concerned. Good Lord.
Are you finding that the combination of those is resonating, or is one of...
Yes, it is resonating with sponge-headed assholes who believed it last time or weren't around last time to see it doesn't work out that way.
Them kind of hotter than another to your audience?
You know, my political campaigning is no different than my writing. I say what I
yeah, it is.
believe needs to be said. You know, many years ago, I read a quote by a man named Arnold Patton. He said, if you genuinely have something you need to say, there's someone out there who genuinely needs to hear it.
Yes, I see that all over QAnon sites.
I'm not filtering myself. Well, do they want to hear that? Will they like it if I say that?
Yeah, nobody cares. I don't care about whether you want to be liked or not. You should filter what you are saying. And I know this is a crazy notion, and I certainly, there's limitations on this at all presidential candidates, I would assume. You should filter what you're saying on the actually possible. Then we can decide whether or not the things that you're saying that are actually possible are good or bad.
Will there be a demographic who hears that? I'm saying what I believe needs to be said in order to repair the country, which I also believe is what needs to be said in order to win the presidency in 2024. Yes, I think that a lot of people on the left, on the right, everybody's in these silos. And I think this goes back to Gen Z. I think Gen Z are among millions of Americans who, can we break out of the silos?
Oh, I see. Gen Z is in this wonderful world of centrist pie in the skyers.
Please, can we realize that in many issues, it's both and. It's political and it's cultural. It's policy change and it's personal change. I think that's what the 21st century demands. This thinking, that's sort of the stale thinking. Well, if you talk about the NLRB, you're not also going to be talking about cultural issues with children. Well,
what the fuck? What Democrat doesn't talk about like unions or workers' pay in their campaign, and also talk about prenatal care and Head Start. And so these are all Democratic programs. This whole, honest to God, you would have to erase 1,000 years with one of those like Men in Black flashy things to run on this idea, because you're presenting this. I guess you're acting like you invented it all. That no one, this idea has never occurred to anybody else. Nobody else is working towards it every fucking day. The rest of us, I'm sorry, the rest of us dumbass Democrats have just been towing the line because what we wanted was an attack on Iraq this whole fucking time. That's all. We got what we wanted. And so, ACA, child's, tax credit, that kind of stuff. We pretend to want those things, but it's really because we're just neoliberals who want to destroy the Middle East. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, actually, maybe you will. And I think that that's where people are ready to be. And
Yeah,
so, yes,
I was going to say totally unshackled by that binary, that it's either politics or it's personal, it's either left or it's right. And
okay, first of all, it's left or right, politics or personal. You're not shackled to that binary. What are you talking about? Every single politician, even the shitty ones, makes the domestic and foreign policy about you and kitchen table issues. That's what everybody talks about. It doesn't mean they actually do it. That term, nobody's shackled to the terminology. Well, I'd love, a part of me wants to talk about, the potential for human beings in the United States of America, but I'm really stuck with I'm really just here to talk about budget all the time.
And on that note, what I like about that clip is, this is one of the same things I like about looking back at Ronald Reagan's rhetoric, is that it's
Oops. Rhetoric would be the word.
kind of soaring and optimistic. When you look back at how Americans talked about the future in the 1980s, or successful American politicians talked about it in the 1980s, there was seeing something on the horizon, or in the 1960s, Kennedy, like you said.
Or Biden saying the number one word that he would use to define America is possibilities. But the potential of the people is what he's been telling. But ignore that, because that's current.
And I want to ask, in some sense, it seems to me really that this stuff resonates because Gen Z is in a lot of pain, because they're desperate for something to be optimistic about, because they're just sort of drowning in pessimism, because they are in a lot of personal pain for both political and cultural reasons. But I wonder if that
citation needed.
Your take on this too, that they really are in pain.
Yes, how are you able to speak at these colleges like Stanford and Yale over all the weeping?
Pain, and so
yes, I was just at Coachella, and I couldn't hear the bands over everyone tearfully screaming into their handkerchiefs.
Part of why your message resonates with them is sadly because of that.
Absolutely. They've been sold a bill of goods that success means making it within what is ultimately a meaningless universe.
Well, I can't imagine why they'd feel suicidal in that. If it's a meaningless universe, gee whiz, friends,
And if all the system can offer is
his creature comforts, the ability to build a family, sex, drugs, and psychedelics, and social media, online connection. I mean, it's so much better than, well, obviously the Wild West. If your house was out in the middle of nowhere, I suppose that would have been a little more. What I'm trying to say,
way to have success within a hyper-capitalist system that will
hyper-capitalist
have you,
which of course is just all transactions are done at the barrel of a gun,
like just every single day, trying to struggle to make it more, and at the expense sometimes of the things.
Yeah, man, the hustle is real.
Things that matter most in life. They understand that something's wrong with that. I think millions.
By the way, that's what college kids always go through. I'm sure Marianne remembers the 60s. I guarantee it.
Of Americans understand that something's wrong with that. People understand that this country has swerved away from very essential things. And even people, one of the things we were talking about last night, because a lot of these kids are into economics, and political theory. And
the ones that are coming to see you and they're like, this sounds like bullshit.
Pointed out that Adam Smith himself, the primary architect of free market capitalism, said it cannot exist outside an ethical universe. Mm-hmm. So
well, yeah. I mean, you have to actually, there's ethics in trade. It does have to function. Nobody thinks, all right. I'm just aggravated. All right, do it. I can't do the whole thing. It's just a waste of fucking time. And especially when we've got guns. I like guns. 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 I'm the most gunny gun. I'm super gun. I like a gun. Gun. This is, I'm not going to do all of that one either. I'm just going to keep referring back to this image and going gun, because I don't care. Okay. Let's go through a couple of people who are running for president. This is Vivek Ramaswamy, and he's running for the Republican nomination. He was the first guy to jump in against Trump. He is the Marianne Williamson of the right now. He is an entrepreneur, which I would stack. I mean, I would go with entrepreneur, but I understand what I'm saying. He has this podcast where he brings on a lot of right-wingers and goes, fascinating. And it's some of the most boring shit I have seen in the political podcast arena. But this is him on the Messes podcast talking. He wants to revive American exceptionalism. I would love to see a debate between him and Marianne. It would just be all popcorn all the time. Let's go.
Happy to welcome back to the podcast a great guy, entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. The difference from when he came on last time, he is now running for president of the United States.
I have that apparently written on this piece of paper, and now that he's running, I decided to dress up for the interview.
He's a best-selling author. He's host of the Vivek Show podcast,
which is really, really interesting. Really interesting. It's really like if you watched it, you won't have insomnia anymore. That's all I can say.
And his website, Vivek, Vivek 2024.com.
I understand why you'd have to write all that down, because who can't remember that?
Vivek, you have jumped into this presidential fray. I got to say it was an perhaps unexpected, certainly an audacious move. And it seems like you're building a theme or an argument around American exceptionalism. Am I right about that?
And how does that differentiate you from Make America Great Again, America First? And how is it looking to the past too much, or?
Do you think that American exceptionalism has been eroding or declining, and what are the causes of that?
Yeah, I think American exceptionalism has become a
Bless you. Somebody hit his button for him. It must be nice, Dinesh. Must be nice to have somebody who can hit your mute button when you sneeze and turn it back on. Yeah.
Letter word in our culture. And
wait, what?
Yeah, I think American exceptionalism has become a four-letter word in our culture.
It's two words with a lot of letters in them, but to make them, which four did they get it down to? You're gonna have to keep at least one of the E's. The A has to be, goddamn, it's America. American exceptionalism has become a four-letter word. You're off to a good start.
And I think, Dinesh, it's because we're in the middle of this national identity crisis where faith, patriotism, hard work, family, these things have disappeared.
They have? Is this guy saying we're not working hard enough? That the American people aren't working hard enough? That we don't care about our families. We don't work hard. How do you read this as anything but an accusation? Fuck you.
And I could tell you my generation, I'm a millennial. I'm the first millennial candidate to ever run as a Republican for president.
And you're doing great, man. You're a great example of the intellectual capacity of the millennial generation. I think it's great that you followed Marianne's advice and pretended that the last 1,000 years didn't happen while still using all of its advances. It's terrific.
Really, my generation, but every generation in this country is so hungry for purpose and meaning.
Yeah, that's not what politicians are for. That your functioning government is not about our own personal raison d'etre. As a matter of fact, and from a Republican standpoint, it used to be about laissez-faire, do your thing, and the government just makes sure that the plane you're in doesn't crash.
And when the things that used to satisfy our purpose are gone, from faith to belief in country, we then allow wokeism and victimhood and climatism and COVIDism.
Climatism and COVIDism. Why? I mean, at this point, we're just tacking ism onto the end. Trafficism. All these people who want people to want the roads to be paved. Infrastructureism is destroying the budget. It's just social security-ism is this belief that the government should take care of you when you're too old to work or something. I don't know, lazy. What happened to your family? Why aren't they picking up the slack?
To fill the void, now transgenderism.
Yeah, that's and the Biden administration is clearly making their foreign policy decisions on transgenderism.
It's not an accident. It's not.
No, it's a plot. Obviously, it's the CIA, deep state, Illuminati establishment of lizard people who are making us all sever our penises and become, I guess, asexually reproducing worms or something. I don't know. I've only watched one episode of the Last of Us. I'm not far enough along to follow this. Is this canon?
A coincidence that we see the rise of these secular religions, these cults in America at the same time.
Look, I love Dinesh trying to interesting point face.
It's because we're starved for purpose and meaning. And I think that what the next U.S. president can do, what the conservative movement can do, is to fill that vacuum of purpose with a vision of what it means to be American. And I'm all in for the America First agenda, but to put America first, we need to rediscover what America is.
Yeah, you guys don't know. You seem to think it's about people being able to be who they are and everybody else having to let them be who they are or something. I don't know, some sort of ism.
And that's the movement that I'm leading, hopefully all the way through leading in the White House and doing to this country what Reagan did in the 1980s.
Doubling the national debt and trading arms with the Iranians.
Leading our country out of the last national identity crisis. That's what I want to do to lead our country out of this one.
Vivek, if I flash back a generation to when I was coming of age in American politics, it appeared like
before his felony conviction, just for the record.
The left's critique of American exceptionalism was that American exceptionalism did not apply to everybody, so that there was a ladder of opportunity, but blacks in the South particularly were excluded. And so the original project appeared to be, let's make sure that these principles are applied more ecumenically, more...
Yes, through diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, of course, conservatives are trying to curb stomp.
Universally, everybody has a chance.
Right.
But now it seems like there is an attack on the principles themselves, and wokeism, as you just suggested a moment ago, is all...
Yeah, but not just by itself. Obviously, COVIDism, transgenderism, the Tool album Schism, post-industrialism, neoliberalism-isms, which are, obviously, I don't know. I have my neoliberal quotes book around here somewhere. It's tiny, it's red. Where is it?
Almost a rival and alternative ideology unto itself. What do you think that those people want, and why is it bad?
Yeah, tell us what's awful.
Yeah, so it's really interesting you point that out, Dinesh.
It totally is. It isn't, but yeah, go ahead. Go with it.
Back then, it was a debate about, do we have equality of opportunity? And I think that's a fair debate to have. America has never been perfect. Perfection doesn't exist on God's green earth, but it is about the pursuit of perfection. But that's a reasonable debate to have. What's happening today is something different altogether. It's that when the civil rights movements actually achieved their own promised land, today there is equality before the law based on race or gender. And say what you will, people are free to marry who they want, if they want, when they.
Yeah, except you are running to head the party that wants to roll that back. Women used to have the right to bodily autonomy. You're trying to drive that back too. And so you can't, on the one hand, go, hey, we finally achieved those things because of the efforts of the Democratic Party and Democratic voters almost exclusively. Occasional crossovers, by the way, by Republicans who are afraid of getting kicked out of office for being too bigoted at the time. Now they're not afraid at fucking all, it appears. But at this point, you're like, well, yeah, the Democrats solved a lot of these problems, and now you're running to be the presidential candidate for a party that is hell-bent on rolling those things back to before those solutions came in.
Want. It's precisely when that movement reached the promised land, its own promised land.
I didn't realize we'd hit the promised land. I have a dream today that one day two assholes would talk themselves into a corner from the set of their own podcasts and no one has to watch it except for Housebox pointing it out.
That it then went berserk. That it actually then became most vehement about systemic racism or transgender ideology right when its own goals were achieved.
Okay, this, by the way, where he is pretending, this is kind of an important moment. This is where this is a thought form across all of conservatism right now, that it was a mistake to allow the civil rights movement and it was a mistake to allow women to vote. Rush Limbaugh literally said it because what's happening now is what they warned us about. If you let the blacks live anywhere they want, if you let women vote, if you let, these different racial groups have a say in what we're doing, they're going to destroy the country from within because they're basically, at best, pets. That was a thought back then. That was the warning by the most awful of the awful before suffrage, before the civil rights movement. And the argument all over right-wing Telegram, right-wing QAnon world, and certainly everywhere this asshole yammers with some of his podcast guests, is that I think we just shouldn't have, to be completely frank, we shouldn't have let that shit happen. It was why we let it happen. They were like, that's why they're going nuts, because they were always going to go nuts. You can't give these people all the right to do this stuff because they're going to run rampant. You know what I mean? That's why we had to keep them in, you got to keep them down because the minute they think they've got a whiff of it, they're going to go for your throat, man.
So that reveals what.
I'm not kidding. This is a real thought. And he's trying to, with his, I guess, black on black suit jacket, Henley shirt, that he's trying to do this, tech billionaire version of that storyline.
What's going on? What's going on is actually that when faith, patriotism, and hard work disappeared.
And by the way, fuck you. I like the idea that we suddenly became listen to this dude. Listen to what he's telling you, because he's reflecting what he thinks is a winning message. And Dinesh is all in on this. He may not vote for him. He may not think he's the guy, but they're in on this message, which is you are where you are right now because you're fucking lazy. It's the same bullshit that Marianne believes that you are where you are because you bought into, democracy as a function. That you think you can solve these things generationally and incrementally. And it's not. We got to burn the whole fucking thing down. And the only difference between what she's saying and what he's saying is that she wants to burn it back down till we're, I guess, in the 1800s, and this guy will settle for the 1940s.
People then latched on to civil rights as their own hook for giving themselves a sense of purpose and direction in.
Yes, pushing back on racism, sexism, and anti-gay rhetoric, as the idea that some people would actually think that that's a good use of their time. Madness, I tell you, madness.
Life. But when that struggle, that so-called struggle was itself
Excuse me?
In life. But when that struggle, that so-called struggle, was itself achieved in its own goals, in delivering itself from that struggle.
So-called struggle. Get the fuck out of here. Like, really? All right. All this asshole is doing is printing clips of himself, guaranteeing that he will never be president, but that this will, I guess, be ways he sells books. Blacks, women, and also dentists, right? I'm for John Stamosism. The chat is having a good time with this nonsense. By the way, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, and I love you for it. I like most of these dickheads. I can only take a slice of this pie. Guys, I like a gun, guy. I like a gun. Gun. It's pretty much what he's saying. Hold on one second. Let's see.
Patriots of the NRA, thank you very much, everybody. As a candidate in 2016, I promised you that I would save your Second Amendment from absolute obliteration. That's where it was going.
No, it wasn't.
And as your president, that's exactly what I did. We saved our Second Amendment, and we're going to.
So we're 2 years into Biden. Why has the Second Amendment not been absolutely obliterated then? Why the fuck didn't Obama do it? Why didn't they obliterate the Second Amendment? We were waiting for Obama's gun grab the entire fucking time, right? I can't even with this asshole. All right, we're going to, who needs it? I'm the best ever. Here you go. Well, hold on. We'll go back to him real quick. Oh, same difference. Welcome to Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. This is a clip from Maria Bartiromo's show. I'm fairly certain. And look at this. Expert warns the window to stop China is closing very fast. Stop China from what? We'll see. I guess taking over the world. World domination. But we'll see. Again, I don't know if I'll make it through all of this because there's too much crazy to go around. Let's go.
Brazilian President Lula da Silva meeting with Chinese leader Xi Jinping today in Beijing. They are discussing the war in Ukraine and a recent agreed-upon trade deal. Lula is calling on developing countries to work toward replacing the U.S. dollar with their own currency in trade. Brazil and China struck that deal last month to ditch the dollar in transactions. Lula also touring Huawei's Innovation Center yesterday. Joining me right now is the Atlas Organization founder and author of The Decisive Decade.
By the way, Lula has decided that this is the way he's going to be president for life.
On bookshelves and right now.
Is that you have China's backing and they'll help you become leader for life.
Jonathan D.T. Ward is with us. Jonathan, it's good to see you.
The Dow is even on this is 34,000.
We've been talking a lot about this dollar story. I find it very concerning.
Yeah, me too. This whole dollar thing, like the billions of dollars I've cost Fox News with my Dominion stories, it's going to be ugly.
But first, let's start on Lula viewing Huawei headquarters. What do you think that means for Brazilians?
Well, Huawei in Brazil is actually a pretty big story. I use it as an example in The Decisive Decade. Huawei has very big ambitions in Brazil.
Yeah, I guess that's his book.
Brazil, it's a country where it has not been banned. So even as the U.S. has been successful in pushing Huawei out of allied.
Yep, it is indeed his book. American Grand Strategy for Triumph Over China.
Countries like Britain and Australia. In Brazil, you have Huawei executives talking about their ambitions to, move through the entire value chain to help Brazil modernize its ICT infrastructure and also to provide ICT alongside other Chinese companies such as those in agricultural machinery. So Huawei really can become the backbone of a country's infrastructure and technology, and this is bad. You do not want this in Brazil. In a close, Brazil is half the size of South America almost, and
it's one country of an entire continent. Never mind.
Has always been a partner to the United States, but to see Lula take this direction, I think it's extremely problematic and dangerous for U.S. diplomacy, and we can see that Chinese diplomacy.
By the way, they know there aren't going to be enough dollars in circulation for these kind of payments, and that ultimately they're going to have to set up if they expect China to attack Taiwan, they're going to have to set up economic trade in yuan so that they're not affected by the sanctions that they know are coming. And Brazil, like a lot of other countries, can't afford the break. If they're like, oh, fuck, we need this stuff from China, but these, we know they're going to do something fucking stupid. What do we do?
Is having a field day right now. I mean, from the brokering of a peace agreement between Iran and Saudi Arabia.
The UN did that, and Iraq shored up the thing. They had the signing ceremony.
To having Macron show up in Beijing and under.
This is like they meet with European leaders all the time.
Mine the entire alliance system to now having.
Which he did not do.
Lula call for the end of dollar-denominated trade between China and Brazil. I mean, this is what it's like as China begins to convert its economic power into diplomatic power and try to reshape the global order. So this is always going to be a global contest. I mean, that's something that I demonstrated in my first book, China's Vision of Victory. We're going to be dealing with the Chinese Communist Party, not just in the island chains or in the Indo-Pacific, but all around the planet. I mean, they have economic relations that they're turning into diplomatic heft, and that goes across the entire world.
Diplomatic heft. He means debt diplomacy.
Yeah, but I want to talk about the implications of this, because you said that Huawei would represent the backbone of the infrastructure. I would go one step further and say it will also represent the backbone of surveillance of Brazilians right now, because Huawei is one of the key tools that the CCP uses for surveillance. Isn't that true?
Well, certainly. I mean, Huawei is a known quantity. I mean, it's backed by the Chinese state. It's involved in their human rights atrocities. I mean, it's a pretty clear story at this point. So to see it potentially succeed,
potentially,
in Brazil.
potentially, it's going to possibly. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Why I could spell. Hold on one second. Oh, that's what I wanted to show you. Hold on one second. Where are you? Yeah, here you go. Somebody had asked me a while back about Temu, right? If you'll recall, somebody was like, what specifically is the issue with Temu? The one you saw like running huge ad campaigns during the Super Bowl and all that, right? Let me go to here. There you go. I've never seen anything like this. One of China's most popular apps has the ability to spy on its users, experts say. It's one of China's most popular shopping apps, selling clothing, groceries, and just about everything else. It's on to more than 750 million users a month, but according to cybersecurity researchers, it can also bypass users' cell phone security to monitor activities on other apps, check notifications, read private messages, and change settings. And once it's installed, it's tough to remove. While many apps collect vast troves of user data, sometimes without explicit consent, experts say e-commerce giant Pinduoduo, which is the company that does Temu, has taken violations of privacy and data security to the next level. In a detailed investigation, CNN spoke to half a dozen cybersecurity teams from Asia, Europe, and the United States, as well as multiple former and current Pinduoduo employees after receiving a tip-off. Multiple experts identified the presence of malware on the Pinduoduo app that exploited vulnerabilities in Android operating systems. Company insiders say that the exploits were utilized to spy on users and competitors, allegedly to boost sales, although the company is half owned by the Chinese Communist Party so that they can use that data for whatever purpose they want. Obviously, a company would want to maximize their sales, and so they would use it for that. But the other half of the company, which is the Chinese government, uses it for everything else. It's highly unusual, and it's pretty damning for Pinduoduo. Malware, short for malicious software, of which TikTok is one, refers to any software developed to steal data or interfere with computer systems and mobile devices. I stand by my assertion that TikTok is malware. Hashtag TikTok is malware. Evidence of sophisticated malware in the Pinduoduo app comes amid intense scrutiny of Chinese-developed apps like TikTok over concerns about data security. Some American lawmakers are pushing for a national ban on the popular short video app, whose CEO, Shou, that, by the way, that poor sap was just like has a PR job. and was terrible at it, for the record. The revelations are also likely to draw more attention to Pinduoduo's international sister app, Temu, which is topping U.S. download charts and fast expanding in other Western markets. Both are owned by NASDAQ-listed PDD, a multinational company with roots in China. While Temu has not been implicated, Pinduoduo's alleged actions risk casting a shadow over its sister app's global expansion. There's no evidence that Pinduoduo has handed data to the Chinese government because there would not be. You don't need evidence that they handed over. The government is a partner. But as Beijing enjoys significant leverage over business under its jurisdiction, there are concerns from U.S. lawmakers that any company operating in China could be forced to cooperate with a broad range of security activities. It's ongoing. Don't be silly. I'm just saying.
Would I think be an enormous blow to America's position in the Western Hemisphere. So I think we have to work on that. I mean, China's trade with Brazil is double ours now. I mean, their investment in Brazil is very significant. We do not have a Latin America strategy that's working, and we need one.
No, we don't.
This goes into the entire problem of
we do not.
U.S., sort of the lack of U.S. engagement in the emerging world. And meanwhile, I mean, we don't really talk about the Belt and Road anymore.
That's
but
right.
China's invested over $900 billion in direct investment and construction deals in the Belt and Road since 2005. So, they're pouring a total of over $2 trillion in overseas investment. And this is all part of a concerted strategy to bind these continents, including Latin America, to China. Brazil is not.
Yes. And, China doesn't have anything to worry about because God knows South Americans don't ever rise up when they're being economically exploited. I'm sure everything will work out fine. It's the same gibberish. We see it all the time. I'm bouncing around all this stuff, but I want to go to, we have to cover some of the leak stuff. And apparently there's a concern. We'll see. There's a broad spectrum of concern on Fox News about the leak of classified documents, because on the one hand, they really do want to blame Biden for this, even though it's a structure that's been in place for decades and this guy just found a way to exploit it. And that Biden's reacting to a problem that occurred during his presidency, that occurred during other presidencies. I mean, the fucking last president ran off with more shit than this kid did, and it was more crucial to our ability to keep tabs on our enemies than what he had. But there's a broad spectrum of outrage outrage over at Fox News.
Let me be very clear here tonight. This is a big deal.
It's totally a big deal. Here's Biden trying to bury some of the boxes full of secrets that he has.
All of us, all of you have been lied to by Joe Biden.
Oh, dear.
And the Biden administration and their inability to safeguard this country's most sensitive secrets. This is a clear and present danger, a major threat to our national security. By the way, a major threat for our allies' national security. By the way, it gives Vladimir Putin, I know the Biden family syndicate loves to do business with Russia and Putin. It gives.
What? Yeah, like at this point, they're just moving Russia to Biden. Yeah, we're supporting Ukraine because I think it's because Russia has a certain kind of kink. They like to get their booty spanked, and Biden is happy to oblige them. It's the same thing with China. His relationship with Russia and China is the same. They pay him to fuck them both in the ear. It's just their thing. This they like. We're not here to yuck anybody's yum.
Critical intelligence that they would not have otherwise had. And worst of all, it exposed that Joe Biden authorized putting U.S. Special Forces on the ground in Ukraine and lied to we, the Americans.
I got news for you, too. Of course, there are U.S. Special Forces, quote, on the ground in Ukraine. They're not fighting for Ukraine. They're in Kiev because our congressmen and senators and Biden himself go there to meet with the president, as do other European leaders. And we help them to make sure they don't get fucking killed. Of course they were there. It's like it's like saying Biden put American Secret Service members on the ground.
American people, we should have known about some of this. They should have at least gone through Congress, and this needs to be gotten to the bottom of.
It must be gotten to the bottom of. Well, you're the guy to do it, Shah, and if anybody can got to the bottom,
documents exposed our entire Ukraine war strategy.
No, it didn't.
Our level of involvement. It revealed that there are the special forces stationed at the embassy in Ukraine.
Right. Of course we have special forces in case we have to bug people out and it involves, it's a war zone, dumb fuck. Of course they're at the embassy. Why wouldn't you? I swear to God, if what was written in these documents was Biden could have put Secret Service and special forces people at the embassy, but he didn't. Sean would be doing a segment about how Biden's not even protecting our embassies with special forces and he wants another fucking Benghazi. Zero doubt.
They gave the location of where our forces are.
First of all, they didn't give it. This guy leaked it. Secondly, everybody knows where the embassy is, dummy.
Well, that makes them a target.
Or warns Russia away from hitting the U.S. embassy because that would involve killing our soldiers, which obviously would be there.
Vladimir Putin. They uncovered information of U.S. spies that they have obtained about Russia and the UAE's strengthening relationship with Russia.
Dude, what? You didn't see fucking MBS giving Putin a high five?
By the way, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the UAE, they have all abandoned the coalition under Donald Trump, and they are betting
the coalition. So you're saying the Abraham Accords were ass? You don't say.
On China, not on the United States, to be the world's largest superpower.
No, that's the last person they can sell to. And by the way, does anyone think that the relationship between the Saudis and Iran and the Uyghur Muslim policy in China will coalesce well in Afghanistan and open areas of the Middle East? Does anybody... Why in the fuck would you think that after all the shit that the U.S. and Australia and France and the UK went through in places like Afghanistan or the Middle East over the years, that once we get out, the next group of people seeking to exploit the place, who, by the way, are more authoritarian and do want to lay claim on the land, ultimately would like to own it. Look at the Belt and Road Initiative and the debt trap that they set up so that they can actually own ports and lands and bases and that kind of stuff in other countries. Who the fuck thinks that's going to go down well in the Middle East? Does anybody think that China is going to have a good go of it in Afghanistan now? That it's just going to somehow, hold on. This is all right. This is a great way of putting it. This is probably the best. This is a great way to phrase it. China is doomed to play a significant role in Afghanistan. That pretty much sums it up. It doesn't go well for anyone. And by the way, hold on. Yeah, this was in, hold on, this was in December. China urges citizens to leave Afghanistan after Kabul attack. It's going great. Oh dear. And that's a mixture of ISIS and the Taliban and all the different faiths in that country all have their targets set on China. The minute they put Chinese characters on a building, it becomes a target all throughout the Middle East. Because I think as Americans, those of us that have any decency whatsoever, are horrified at the treatment of the Uyghur Muslims in a general sense. You don't even have to be Muslim to be upset and think, well, hey, perhaps I don't want to buy clothing from that country anymore because they use slave labor and they murder people and they sterilize them and they, send them to re-education camps where a lot of the men don't ever come back. And that's bad. That's bad. That's a bad thing. But how the fuck do you think Afghans feel about it? Across the board. Or all the Muslim sects about that? Because the Chinese aren't going, well, it's the Shia we really have a problem. Oh, no, it's the Sunni we really have a problem. No. In general, it's an atheist country, and they believe all of these faith groups are cult members. They're all to be treated like Falun Gong. It doesn't matter. So, it's just goofy.
But while the fallout continues, what's Joe doing? What's your president doing? Well, he's out there touring Ireland, joking about, wishing that he didn't have to return home. Joe, you can stay there as long as you want. You can move into an Irish pub.
Oh, look at that. Hannity's got a live audience, and we didn't know he did until now.
As far as I'm concerned, stay there.
Really? That's what it takes now? The show's just been so boring. They're like, we got to drag some fucking maggots in here and make them clap.
We will be better off. When asked about
how come I never get invited to boo?
About the leak today, your president literally just brushed it aside.
Right. And went, Hannity wants to make a big deal out of this and shit on the country, but we're going to be fine. The idea that we're not going to make it through this or whatever seems a little shitty.
Added a bizarre comment about why I got to go plant a tree. And this should worry every American because this is a serious.
It's a serious, is it? By the way, the reason you do realize you showed footage of him planting that tree, that he did actually go to, that was a scheduled event, that they were doing a nice thing in another country. Like, it's fucking hell.
Tree. And this should worry every American because this is a serious, significant, dangerous intelligence leak that never should have happened, but it did.
Anything like the boxes of shit that Trump has at Mar-a-Lago while Anna de Rothschild was skirting around the fucking place?
Allowed it to happen. Take a look.
He allowed it to happen. Yeah, he got a phone call, 3 a.m. phone call, and just like, hey, what? Yeah, let him have it.
Look.
Do you have an update on the leak investigation?
They're literally on their way out the door. Look, like the leadership of them, they're walking. This is at the finish of it.
Yeah, it's just for a photograph.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're just taking pictures together.
Thank you. I'm going to go plant a tree.
How concerned?
Yeah, that's what, like, he ignored the question because somebody threw it out there at the end, and then he answers it later. Like, get the fuck out of here. Trump spent most of his time golfing.
Are you about this leak?
Are you concerned about our relationship?
Are you concerned about the leak?
Okay, guys, it's time to go. Let's go. Cool, we got to move.
I'm not concerned about the leak and I'm concerned that it happened. But there's nothing contemporaneous that I'm aware of that is of great consequence.
No, Joe is lying. He is wrong.
All right, here it comes. This is all contemporaneous.
Our strategy for an ongoing war isn't contemporaneous. Apparently, protecting our nation's very sensitive intelligence is not.
Our very sensitive intelligence. And what would that be, Sean? What was the very sensitive part?
A high priority for him. He's too busy.
No, he said protecting it is important. He's concerned about that it happened. That's the part he can solve going forward to make sure it doesn't happen again. But the content of the leak isn't that big a deal, ultimately. It's not going to affect anything, as far as outing any particular sources that are going to get them killed. He's there, as far as they know, that's not going to be the end of it.
Planting trees and visiting castles in Ireland. But we could have guessed that. After all, he let that Chinese spy balloon collecting intelligence.
Does Sean sniff more when there's an audience around? Or is somebody there? Is somebody in the audience affecting the demonic air? We don't know. We'll find out.
Relaying it back to China in real time, fly all across the continental U.S., all over Alaska airspace, all over our sensitive military sites. But don't worry, let not your heart be troubled, because while our nation's secrets were being exposed to the world, Joe had a great day in Ireland.
Where he got a round of applause from the Irish Parliament.
Was chasing balls around at a youth sporting event. Yesterday, he took questions not from the press, but from children. And even there, his son Hunter, who shouldn't even be there, should be.
Why shouldn't he be there?
In jail. Had to.
Oh, because he should be in jail. I thought he was like, he's there making deals in Ireland. No, he just believes he should be in jail.
Save him. Anyway.
And by the way, didn't Trump get all upset because Schiff says that Don Jr. should be in jail? And Sean Hannity has no power whatsoever, and of course was client number 3 of Michael Cohen.
And then he was barked at by the president of Ireland's dog. I'm guessing the dog likely perceived that Creepy Joe would show up and might smell his hair. Now,
these guys need to try harder.
Of course,
then they had a good time, and I'm still the miserable thumb with a toupee that you see every night.
It all got lost multiple times when trying to pose for pictures, but somehow he also found the time in his busy schedule to make many bizarre, rambling, nonsensical,
No, they were just like, all this stuff, like, we're coming up here, and then like, we'll shut these doors. That was the conversation that's happening. It's again
speeches that we've all come to admire so much.
And these are like, you guys, like, go ahead, stand in the middle, stand on the high step. Like, get that fucking no. This is all part of the fact that nobody wants a shot with Sean Hannity. This is what he's mad about. All of it, national security, all this kind of. Sean Hannity's problem is that the only people that want a picture with him are people he doesn't consider fuckable. So it's annoying to him. And certainly no one of measure. He's got all the pictures of him and Donald Trump anyone would ever want in a fucking lifetime.
That has now initiated and motivated our geopolitical foes to create alliances to basically replace the U.S. as the world's leader. Take a look.
Our history reminds us, our history, ours, yours and mine, reminds us of the responsibilities we have to the president. That should be the president. Our courage, our creativity, our loyalty, our tenacity, and our loyalty again. The only thing
Yeah. What the fuck?
Bring to this career after my aged, as you can see, how old I am. But it's a little bit of wisdom. I come to the job with more experience than any president in American history. Doesn't make me better or worse, but it gives me few excuses. I said, Pop, what do you worry about? He said, you're too much like that guy who led the revolution instead of the guy who was the prime minister. I said, he said, you got to be less like the military guy. They shot him. She'd look at me and say, Joe, remember who you are. Like, you're a Biden. Like, hey, what the hell is a Biden? You know what I mean? I'm like I'm a.
Oh, this is the whole idea. Like, this is where he's telling the story, for the record, of my word as a Biden, where that came from. And he's in Ireland, and it's an Irish name. And he's talking about when he's a little kid, and his dad, like, you're a Biden. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Because your family name's got to stand for something. You know, like, you're a Hannity, which no one ever said ever.
Anyway, thank you all. God bless you all. Let's go lick the world. Let's get it done.
That's your president right there. Now, in fairness, Joe did eventually address the dangers to the U.S., including the most pressing.
Let me guess, he's going to make fun of climate change?
Threat that we now have, climate change.
Right, there you go. All right. I mean, it's like the fucking tired. Like, Sean would do better to just wander that crowd in front of him and grope them until they smile. Just one at a time. Like, what do you want, a handy, or what do you want? What do you need? That's all this is. This is just people pleasing this group of people who are just like, God damn it, why didn't Trump win? That's it. Meanwhile, Pence, same thing. Here's Mike Pence. I don't know if you're familiar with this fellow, but I think he's our first vice president who was smooth in the front that we've ever had. But this is, how did a National Guardsman have access to sensitive U.S. secrets?
before the arrest, I sat down with former Vice President Mike Pence as these reports were breaking. Watch this.
And we probably should have waited until, the story was further along, but it's not like anyone's saying anything worth saying.
Do you have confidence in the leadership in terms of how these things are looked after?
Well,
how these things are looked after.
I'm just very concerned, and obviously we don't know among the documents that have appeared on the internet how many of them are real. The Pentagon seems to have made it clear that some of them are. Some of them may have been manufactured. But again, I fall back to, particularly now that we have a target here, I fall back on fundamental questions, and that is how could a Massachusetts National Guardsman have access to this type of classified and sensitive information?
Yeah. Interesting, because he's always had access to it for like that station, that a Massachusetts National Guard person in that level in that particular cyber unit has had access to this shit for years. That's normal to them. We just happen to be in a European war right now, as opposed to involved in helping them versus the Middle East or some other place nobody gives a fuck about. That's all. Ultimately, you have people who are joining because they're part of the America First crowd, and they want to leak this shit out because they're landing on the side that Russia should have just won.
And how would they be able to release that information?
It's a good question.
And it's not just about Russia and Ukraine, but there's information about China's hypersonic weapons being tested. There's information about countries that may be providing
stuff that normally you'd have to be a member of Mar-a-Lago to see.
Support to Russia from across the Arab world. That all of that could compromise our sources and methods. And I think after we bring
just like the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago and at your house,
bring whoever is responsible here to justice, I think there needs to be a full-scale review.
Yeah, they're on it. Gee, why didn't anybody think of that? A full-scale review. It's almost as if, of course.
Of who has access to this type of classified information.
Which is exactly what they're doing right now. Again, these fuckers who think they're inventing the wheel.
Information and how it's being handled.
A couple more topics that I want to get to with you today. You've been very supportive of our involvement in the war in Ukraine, supporting the effort there. Yeah. The former president was asked about this, and he basically says that we're giving it all away. The military that you and your administration, along with the president at the top of it. And here's what he said. Watch.
We don't have any ammunition. We've given it to Ukraine. We're not prepared to fight. I rebuilt our military, new planes, new tanks, new everything. They've taken the military that I've rebuilt, and they've given it all to Ukraine. I mean, massive amounts.
Do you agree with that?
I don't, Martha. Look.
Ouch.
The United States is leader of the free world. We're the arsenal of democracy. Ukraine is not our war, but freedom is our fight. And I've long believed in the Reagan doctrine, which is if you're willing to fight America's enemies on your soil, we'll give you the means to fight them there so we don't have to fight them here. I think this is an important fight. Look, I'm proud of the historic increase in investments that we made in our
But quite frankly, Trump tried to murder me.
National defense during the Trump-Pence administration. But the truth of the matter is, as the former president talks about planes and tanks that we helped build up in our military, we haven't sent one plane to the Ukrainian military. We haven't sent any tanks, even though the Biden administration promised to send 33 Abrams tanks back in January. I mean, the hard truth is that the Biden administration has been slow in responding, slow in providing.
There's your Republican cohesion in terms of messaging for the former administration. One guy says we're sending everything and we're going to run out of shit, and the other one's like, the current administration is not sending stuff, and what they are sending, they're going too slow. Same, none of these motherfuckers know what they're talking about. Here, let's go to Laura Ingraham. She's obviously cutting to the quick with her Tucker style, Russell Brand style title. We're being lied to. Obviously, it's a CIA plot to give away, Mr. Bond, give away our secrets. Because we're all fighting against the same thing, freedom. Some of us do it overtly, some of us do it covertly, but we're all on the same team, Mr. Bond. We're all doing... I'm sorry, 1 second, I have to pee.
Amateur
okay, hold on.
hour. That's the focus of tonight's angle.
Amateur hour. This is the focus of the angle. Okay, great. Well, isn't it every night? By the way, when is she going to get a live drummer?
Now, in a small community, North Dayton, Massachusetts, the feds showed up in full gear.
Because the person they were arresting is an active duty military soldier who has access to weapons on the property. In the investigation, they showed him firing the gun saying racist and anti-Semitic things. This is for the safety of the people arresting him, not the threat that he directly poses at any given second. You moron. Again, I guess the whole back the blue thing when they're wearing green, fuck them.
They even brought an armored vehicle.
Right, because they are arresting a member of the military.
All to take into custody a lone, scrawny, 21-year-old Air Force National Guardsman?
I don't know. Why did they even send police for the trans shooter? Like a trans person with a gun? Are they? Did you see how tall they were? They're not even that big. Look at them. They're like 109 pounds, fully clothed, soaking wet. They were totally scrawny. You do realize it doesn't fucking matter how much you weigh if you have a machine gun. The dude he's a military member. He's got access to machine guns. Not AR-15 so he can fucking cosplay. The real thing, dum-dum.
Today, the Justice Department arrested Jack Douglas Teixeira in connection with an investigation into
where he tried to share a bunch of classified documents.
Alleged unauthorized.
What a silly name for a man who's caught sharing classified intel. Teixeira classified
removal,
intel.
Retention, and transmission of classified national defense information. Teixeira is an employee of the United States Air Force National Guard.
Right, where I'm fairly certain they have machine guns.
We will share more information
on Teixeira when we feel like sharing.
At the appropriate time.
Actually, the appropriate time is now. So,
is it? Because they do want to try him, stupid, and they don't want him to get off just because they prejudiced the entire public against him. And this is the Trump plan. Trump wants to air this. He wants to take it into have the trial in the court of public opinion, so that he can't get a fair trial because everybody knows the details of the case, and then his lawyers can come in and go, my client can't get a fair trial because everybody knows about this, and then he never gets. That is the Trump methodology. That's when people talk about he wants to talk about this in the press or hash it out and make it a political debate or whatever. No, he is trying to poison the jury pool. That's all Trump tries to do with all of these cases all the fucking time. That's what she's doing right here. No, it is smart of Merrick Garland to go, this is the case, not go any further. We have reason to believe, and this is what led us to believe this, but he will get a trial like everybody else.
The angle will share more information and provide some much needed context.
All right, context. Here we go. That's what I think is contextism is the problem. It's taking over.
First, let's understand what the Biden administration is trying to do here.
By arresting the guy who did make an example of him, get to the bottom of it, actually discover this. No, that can't be it. They're using him to leak it. No, that's too Jimmy Dore right out of the gate.
It's somehow trying to turn one of the worst intelligence breaches of the past 2 decades into a political win.
Okay, so by catching and prosecuting the person who leaked documents, their manufacturing responsibility. Yeah. They're trying to look all capable by getting the guy. What the fuck?
For themselves.
Yeah, because normally they would just ignore him. Poopy Grubber says, Hal, have you read anything about the Trump documents that he took concerning Milley? Yeah, we talked about that, I want to say, a couple of months ago. But the idea that he was trying to get dirt on people that he wanted to fire or whatever, none of it worked out. And the stuff that he has on them will just get them killed, but it's not anything he could air their dirty laundry. There isn't really anything about Milley that I'm aware of. And believe me, if he had it, we would know about it by now. But he tried to do this with a bunch of people. He tried to get the same report talked about him getting info on Macron, if you'll recall.
Now let's debunk this and explain it.
All right, let's debunk what you just said and explain what they're trying to do, or debunk what they're trying to do and explain what you just said. You'll have to excuse me. I'm smelling almonds.
Well, today they hope to win competency points by
catching the guy really quickly.
The fact that they moved so quickly to arrest the leaker. But big deal. The documents had been online for months on
They just hadn't spread outside of Discord.
A platform called Discord.
Right. Where they sat there going nowhere. Where effectively nobody on that Discord, was all fucking gamers, were whispering secrets to anybody going, I saw a document that says this, that it resulted in any fucking thing. Until they reached the actual world, it didn't matter.
And plus, it looks like the New York Times somehow managed to make contact with the alleged leaker before our own government.
Yes, they did. They made contact. They didn't know about him before the government. They just went there and the government went, fuck, all right, guys, roll. The New York Times has found him. Go get him. Shit. They were trying to catch the other people that he's involved with, or see if he's involved with other people, because he doesn't have access to that kind of stuff anymore, and they've already locked it down internally. Or they were going to feed him fake intel and follow that chain, but no.
The first tranche were photographed among hunting equipment. These ones were photographed in a different location on a granite countertop.
On a granite countertop. Obviously, the Irish know more about this than the Americans do.
In the gaming profiles, we were able to find connections with other more popular social media websites, which of course had family photographs online, including that countertop, that granite countertop.
Mm-hmm.
Well, even the Democrat rank.
Yeah, we know how they got there. That doesn't mean that the government didn't know that the guy was there. It just means that they were approaching it differently, especially considering this motherfucker talked about Ruby Ridge all the time.
Ranking member of the House Intel Committee, it wasn't buying it.
The New York Times beat the FBI.
No, they didn't.
21-year-old.
They jumped the gun. They went and interviewed the guy. They were going to try to interview the guy.
A kid, Air National Guardsman, who was trying to impress his friends. Clearly.
He was trying to impress. Yeah, he's an innocent kid. He's just trying to be liked. Aren't we all trying to be liked? By saying, here, have some classified documents.
Awful lot of work, a lot of congressional oversight work we need to do to fix these systems that are constantly allowing, or at least regularly allowing, our secrets to get out into the wild.
Sorry, but enough about Mar-a-Lago.
How was he able to print them out? How was he able to remove them?
Well, you're assuming a lot of things. You're assuming he printed them out and they weren't other people's printouts that they duplicated and that he folded over and took out with him.
From a secure facility.
The facts here are so bad for the Biden.
Terrible. Especially the whole catching him part.
An intel community that even CNN's Jake Tapper
I love how it's the Biden intel community.
Can't hide his disgust.
This classified information was reportedly on Discord for months. How many tens of billions of dollars the U.S. intelligence community gets each year from the American taxpayer, but it really seems like there was a lot of people dropped the ball here. It's not a proud period for the intelligence community.
Sure.
Let's say that.
Well,
no, it never is when a leak happens. And
well, that's right, and it's an understatement. Just think of
yeah, I mean, Jake could have gone much further.
The debacles of the past.
Oh, the debacles. So many debacles.
Past few months. Like that Chinese balloon that floated.
Oh, yes, the balloon.
Over sensitive sites.
Sensitive sites like Wyoming.
This administration assured us all was no big deal.
The president doesn't regret the way that we handled the first balloon.
It's not a major breach.
And it was.
You know what they need to do? They need to cut these quotes smaller so that it looks like nobody ever gives a shit. I think that would can somebody call the editorial newsroom? I don't know. I guess they're news cutters, the people that put their packages together, and go, you know what? There's far too much context. I think you should take out all the breaths and everything as well.
It's just 10 days ago that we learned that what the Angle had suspected all along. That
the Angle had suspected this cult group. You mean you?
Intelligence that China collected was mostly from electronic signals, which can be picked up from weapon systems or include communications from base personnel.
Right, and because they knew where it was at all time, they told them to stand down and stop doing that while it was in range. Could and did or two. All right.
Oh, that's all. No big deal. Now, don't forget the administration wanted everyone to think they were wise. They were so pragmatic and prudent to blow the balloon up over the Atlantic.
We wanted to wait until it was over water so that we could mitigate any potential civilian harm or property damage.
Right. Fox doesn't give a shit about this. Literally flyover country.
Well, my goodness, how the Chinese must be pinching themselves right now.
Was that what pinching means? I wasn't sure.
And now this?
Damage the United States are finding that it's not.
Wow, they're cutting these things so tight. She's overlapping with
not that hard to get this information, leak it, and put our national security officials in a really difficult position. This is embarrassing. It's bad.
The Biden people know they're in trouble here.
And by the way, isn't the pardon me for if I may, ma'am, isn't the intel community, like the CIA and the DNI and all these folks, aren't they supposedly the ones behind installing Biden? Aren't they the ones pushing the Ukraine war and trying to manipulate Russia and blah, 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 forcing, in many ways, Russia to attack Ukraine? They didn't want to do it, felt they needed to, you know. If the intel community is behind all this, then the sloppy shit that happens when this stuff gets out, it's got to be part of the plan, right? I mean, you're hardly a nefarious world-controlling organization if everything isn't part of the strategy, right? So are they on Team Biden or are they fucking with him? Or are they just fucking with America and Biden's an innocent victim?
So look for them to focus maybe on the biography of the leaker. He likes guns. He's anti-big government.
He's racist. He's anti-Semitic.
He was a young, charismatic man who loved nature, God, who loved shooting guns and racing cars.
A young
and racing cars.
Gun enthusiast, that's how he's described.
Worked on a military base and is a, quote, young, charismatic gun enthusiast.
Yeah, they're quoting that person. Also, maybe, just maybe, this might be the reason why when they showed up to arrest him, they brought an armored vehicle and the cops were wearing a lot of body armor. Maybe, dumb fuck. Maybe, just maybe. Although, I guess, you know, Laura Ingraham won't be happy unless one of these assholes takes out a cop in the process and they have another Ruby Ridge to sell.
He had a very dark view of the intelligence community, very suspicious of government overreach.
Well, this is perfect in a way for the Biden administration because...
It is. Well, then you're right. The CIA probably set this guy up and he's probably... I'm going with MKL.
Just as with their January 6th narrative, their goal is to brand conservatism.
Oh, by the way, there's a big move to make him just another Jan 6er. That's why Marge Green is in on him. He's like a spin-off of January 6th.
And Trump supporters as not just toxic, but as traitors.
Well, the ones that attacked the Capitol and brought in a Confederate flag, yeah. And then also the ones that share classified documents, yeah. I mean, the dumbasses in the boat parade, I don't know. I kind of don't give a shit.
Now, once again, just as with the faux insurrection, the White House and
the faux insurrection. It wasn't a faux insurrection. It's pronounced failed.
the FBI are just trying to score political points and distract us from reality.
Oh, good. Thank you. All right. Yes. Because he wasn't, that was all a deep fake. That video of him, that the guy in the red shorts doesn't even exist. That's all Unreal Engine.
Obviously, to the extent that Mr. Teixeira broke the law, he should be punished.
Yeah, but he didn't to the extent that did it? What extent?
Completely. But this significant breach pulled the curtain back on the amateur hour that is Biden's foreign policy shop, and along with that, his national.
What are you talking about? This is within the military. This isn't even a question of like, this kid didn't he wasn't an IT professional hired at a CIA fucking safe house in Massachusetts. He was working on a military base. The military base had access to some of this stuff. Whether or not they should is a structural issue within the Pentagon. And it's not, by the way, it is, for the record, not a new policy by the Biden administration. The Biden administration did not roll in and say, you know what? Every National Guard post in the United States gets top secret clearance going forward. Just to everybody.
National security apparatus. Now, remember what the leaked documents told us about Ukraine, far different from the rosy analysis that we got just a few months ago. And what did we learn about China's role? Again, not what we were told by the White House or the Pentagon.
Russia's, and also, these are Russian assertions, but
We haven't seen any confirmation or indication that the Chinese have provided lethal weapons, lethal capabilities to the Russian Ministry of Defense.
Right, but the Russians say they have, but we haven't seen that actually be true. This is not a contradiction.
Throughout this conflict.
Did he know that was false when he was saying it?
Do you know this is false when you're saying it?
Well, the truth.
Stupid. Let me tell you something. What Russia says about the arms they may or may not be receiving from China, if they are at all, if they're getting lethal support or not, whatever Russia says about it, the Pentagon could go, they say this, we haven't seen it. That was also part of that same briefing. They say China has China and Russia have this kind of a relationship, but we haven't seen any of the shit show up. They send them hunting rifles, which are basically the AR-15s effectively, and they try to mod them, but they're not. The AK-47s that they use on the battlefield are the primary ones, which means that the hunting rifles, the AR-15 style guns that China is allegedly sending to Russia are not being used on the battlefield in Ukraine. They're being used to police Russian citizens. Which might be why Laura Ingraham supports their relationship as much as she does.
We're not hearing the truth. Maybe the 21-year-old's view of the intel community isn't far off.
Yeah, it's one of those situations. It's where a guy hates women because they sleep with him sometimes, and he's like, any woman who would sleep with me is a complete scumbag because I'm an asshole. This is the same thing. Like, apparently, his low opinion of the intel community is because he knows he's not trustworthy, and they trusted him. Now, the reason they did is because he took an oath, and violating that oath means going to jail for a long fucking time. And it isn't really about the trust that they put into him, but his lack of awareness that shit has consequences.
The American public has every right to know the truth about what they're getting for their $200 billion and counting commitment to Ukraine.
I love how it's 200 already. It was 112, and then it's just jacked up over time. And by the way, the Lend-Lease stuff doesn't count. I'm just saying that even if you want to stack on top of it, no. That said, hold on. Leaked documents show Russia. Whoops. Yeah, this is what. Hold on, if I may. This is the part that's the most upsetting for the Laura Ingrahams of the world. This part right here. Leaked documents show Russian special forces have been gutted in the Ukraine war. U.S. documents included in a leak of sensitive material online shows that the war in Ukraine has decimated Russia's elite special forces, according to a new report. The Washington Post, citing U.S. assessments it obtained that were initially leaked online through the platform Discord, reported that American officials believe it will take Moscow years to replenish the clandestine special forces ranks. These are the people, by the way, who were sneaking around in not only their on the battlefield ones, but the people who've been threaded throughout the Ukrainian government and were effectively spying in the military there. In making the assessment of Russia's military status, U.S. officials pointed to Russian commanders relying too heavily on specialized units, according to the Post. The Spetsnaz forces are typically assigned to specialized high-risk missions, but when the Ukraine war began, Moscow senior commanders ordered them into direct combat. They took James Bond and they handed him a M16 and said, fuck off. According to the leaked documents reported by the Post, the classified information did not specify how many of the elite troops were suspected to have been killed or wounded, though one Spetsnaz unit was said to have lost nearly the entire brigade, with only 125 personnel active out of 900 deployed. The leak of sensitive and classified documents is roiled U.S. governments, blah, blah, blah. Jack Teixeira and too much, was arrested Thursday. This is the part that they're pissed about. This is the part that's upsetting. And she and Ritter and all those folks are trying to ignore. Never mind the part where Russia modified some of the documents that it put out. It got some of them and re-released them with the modified numbers. And that's where everybody thinks it's a CIA leak on purpose.
If the prognosis...
In which case, by the way, all of this is horseshit. All of what she's saying is garbage. All of it is just her falling for a psyop.
Prognosis for victory is grim. We should all know it.
It ain't. Now you do. Fuck off.
If China is back-channeling lethal aid to Ukraine, we should know that.
So what? You'll hate China more? Also, what lethal aid? Again, the rifles they are sending are not ending up on the battlefield. Component parts are, but quite frankly, the Russians are taking apart every electronic device they can get just to make drones work.
This is information that Americans actually may vote on in 2024.
No, we'll all, of course, have died in World War III by that time. Hold on. Chinese, I'll show you what I mean. Components, in Ukraine, blah, blah. Okay. Yeah, here you go. This is from Reuters. This is kind of what they were talking about. And it's old. That's why the stuff that came out as part of the leak was old data. Ukraine says it is finding more Chinese components in Russian weapons because they are pilfering shit from China to keep the shit together. I can't find it. Let's hold on one second. Let me grab a better. I don't have a subscription to that. Hold on. Yeah, here's Kiev Independence version of it. Same thing. Reuters. Ukraine allegedly finding more Chinese components in Russian weapons. Ukraine has allegedly been finding an increasing number of components originating from China and Russian weapons recovered on the battlefield. They're also stealing washing machines to work on drones because they can use the chips. They can repurpose the chips in them, and those are made in China because they're cheap and easy to make and whatever. Citing a senior advisor to President Vladimir Zelensky's office, Reuters wrote that there's been a noticeable shift away from Russia's use of Western-made electronics to Chinese-made ones. Good luck in your senior year. Vladislav Vlasyuk, who advised the president's chief of staff on sanctions policy, revealed that Ukraine has successfully identified certain Chinese manufacturers and suppliers in Russian weapons. Ukraine has apparently passed this information on to its Western allies. Reuters added that, and again, this is of the same ilk of material in the leaked documents, and this is just Reuters asking fucking questions. This, honest to God, the stuff that's in the leaks looks like the same churned out horseshit, like mid-level analyst garbage we see all the time.
Like that, despite billions in aid to Egypt over the years, they were planning to secretly arm Russia with rockets.
And then they didn't?
Like the information that while Biden is placating China, they've tested and deployed...
Oh, we're placating China by promising to defend Taiwan?
Deployed a new longer-range hypersonic missile that's probably...
How many times have we heard this fucking story? I'm not kidding. This is like, hold on. I want to see how far back I can go. Chinese supersonic the Hedgehog weapon, missile evade 2021. Let's see. Most shocking intel leak. Yeah. Military leader says China's hypersonic missile test went around the world. U.S. top generals. China's test of a hypersonic missile over the summer went around the world. The second most senior U.S. general said in an interview Tuesday, shedding details on the test and warning that China might one day be able to launch a surprise nuclear attack on the United States. Everybody can launch a surprise one, but it's not going to, whatever. When asked if the missile hit the target, he said close enough. That's horseshoes, hand grenades, and nukes, I guess, is the thing. Why are they building all this capability? He said they look like a first-use weapon. That's what these weapons look like to me. Yeah, of course, that's what they're for. It's the same fucking story from 2 years ago.
Able to evade U.S. defenses.
Yes, all hypersonic missiles are able to, quote, evade U.S. defenses currently on, I guess, during the downward arc of what they're doing, of their cycle.
But perhaps even more important than all of this,
is just blaming.
This intelligence breach shows us how vulnerable we become.
We've been under, yes, because Biden, right now the leaks happen under the Pentagon. Before, all we had to do was worry about what Trump snuck away with.
If a 21-year-old with no special training...
No special training. I guess she means in spy work? No, he didn't need special training. The documents were right there. You don't need special training to exploit someone's lazy misuse of classified documents. It's his superior that's getting called on the carpet right now.
Could do this much damage?
Yeah, all this damage. Oh, it's damaging. It's so damaging. The Chinese now know we know. And?
Go unnoticed for this long? Lord only knows what secrets of ours the Chinese have.
Well, I mean, there've been a couple of them at Mar-a-Lago recently.
As the Associated Press put it, the suspect's arrest...
By the way, don't you love how they love the mainstream media when it serves their purposes? It's adorable.
...is bound to raise questions about how the highest profile intel leak in years, one that continues to unfold with almost daily revelations of highly classified documents, could have been caused by such a young, low-ranking service member.
Well, I'm going to guess it's because he didn't cause it. He exploited it. It was caused by one of his superiors not following protocol.
Now, also worth noting is that in some circles, Mr. Teixeira would be lauded as a whistleblower.
No.
Well, he revealed vital info that was hidden from the public, which could have huge political implications.
Yeah, but that's not whistleblowing. Whistleblowing would be showing corruption or something negative that we're doing instead of the functional work of the intel community for the safety of us and our allies. That's not whistleblowing. That's just spying. It's just old-fashioned bullshit spying.
And we certainly know that Democrats in the press, they love to celebrate certain types of whistleblowers.
What I would like to see more of these people do is what Vindman had the courage to do.
All right, we saw this on the morning show where they were, they're angry because Vindman, gets lauded as a whistleblower for calling out the fact that Trump was trying to manipulate the Ukrainian government, and they want to turn this like him into like. We like Vindman and he's evil. He went after Trump, but this guy is a patriot.
Colonel Vindman showing courage, the courage to stand up to the most powerful person in the world.
Anonymous did the right thing by at least telling us that people are keeping a keen eye on the aberrant behavior of the president.
I think Anonymous is a hero.
Also, Anonymous is a group of people, but okay, whatever. I mean, this is all cut together to look like, oh, they like Anonymous and they like Vindman, but somehow this guy's a bad guy? Yeah, because in both of those cases, Vindman and Anonymous were like, this is wrong, and it's being done. Not the wrong part of the actual military sin that is exposed in all of this shit that's going on in the leak is the fact that the leak could happen. You're not a whistleblower if you any more than like a bank robber is just trying to show the people how unsafe their money is in a bank.
Of course, liberals have a double standard here. That's hardly news at this point.
Oh, yeah? I'm sorry. Is he a hero? Explain how he is.
But let's not get distracted.
No, let's not get distracted with the distraction she just posted. Why would we do that?
Our focus should be, what do these leaks mean for our long-term survival as a nation?
Yes, absolutely. And why are you wearing a cocktail dress?
Are we really even a superpower if some of our most sensitive military secrets can be posted on
Well, fifth most sensitive and old, but whatever.
a public server for weeks, months, without officials even knowing?
Well, our enemies didn't know it either.
And are we really even a superpower if our own
Probably. I don't know why.
Secretary of Defense sounds this out to lunch when the breach happened?
I don't know if there are other documents that have been online before. They were somewhere in the web, and where exactly and who had access at that point, we don't know.
Right, because at that point they didn't. Yeah, that's, the biggest problem for Laura is why won't our politicians and our military brass especially lie to us a little better? Remember back in the old, let's all go back to the time of yellow cake. That's when Laura was happiest, when somebody could just come out and just make up a bullshit story and just, if they didn't know, you just pretend to know. You know what I mean? Those were the good old days.
They were in the web.
In the web.
Well, no one should be surprised if the Biden team tries to gloss over this entire sad saga by arguing that this is just one bad guy who was maybe radicalized in an all-male right-wing chat room.
Uh-huh.
But given how the Biden administration
I would go all boy, but whatever.
Has weaponized the intel agencies.
Oh, I see. Well, they did a terrible job of it, apparently.
Misrepresented key national security questions and left us vulnerable to spies and to hackers. Why should Americans have faith in anything they do or say going forward?
Well, I'm going to go with that the assumption is if this capability existed and it wasn't a change in policy, that it existed before Biden was in office, and that this dude was in Trump world, thought he would be sort of a hero amongst people if he shared this kind of shit because he was siding with Tucker Carlson, let's say, their argument on this, and he played no small role in driving this to actually happen. Or it's yet another nothing burger that in 6 months we'll be talking about, like the balloon or the Afghanistan exit, as if they just happened 10 minutes ago and no change in the story occurred over time. It seems like here, and I will let you guys go because we have the radio show tomorrow, and Philip Bittner will be joining us from Kiev, and I think he's in Kiev. I think he's back, but he might not be. He might still be down in an semi-undisclosed location. By God, I look forward to the time when Philip can join us from Crimea, honest to God. And Johnny Million will be joining us for the radio show tomorrow. But when it comes to this stuff, it seems like we have a giant shit pile that we deal with all the time of dead talking points. And to them, it's like another tool in the toolbox. And it's like they have a toolbox full of turds. And at one point, these turds were frozen, and they could kind of handle them without much issue. But time has passed, and it's not a refrigerated toolbox. And they keep reaching back and grabbing a fistful of these tools and coming up with a lump of shit. And every time we come across one of these talking points, every time one of these things rolls up, and you guys have been with me, and I appreciate it, and I want to thank you for joining me. As we've gone through all this stuff, we've seen this multiple times, where this is the end of the world scenario. This is it. Nord Stream pipeline. We're at a nuclear war tomorrow. This leak is going to end everything. We're fucked. Nothing works. Everything's collapsing. And then a week later, move on. It's just the next thing and the next thing. And at some point, I have faith that some of these motherfuckers will eventually realize that I've been right all along about the world is going to keep on spinning, and our job as human beings is to get along a little bit better, ratchet down the vitriol, try to work together, and stop acting like the world started when we were born and it's over if we go. And just try to contribute as much as we fucking can while we're here. I have to say, I'm very seldom shocked by stuff that I watch, but I think the most shocking thing that we saw tonight, oddly enough, was Marianne Williamson on Counterpoints basically saying that millennials want to erase the last millennium because everything that happened during it was bad. And that she got this feeling from touring college campuses like Yale and Stanford. How do these folks get entrenched in this big a fucking bubble? Do you just have no friends? Is there no one you can talk to that when they push back on what you have to say, you can absorb it or listen? It's super odd. Anyways, I'm going to be germinating on that idea all fucking night. I just know it because I found it to be such a strange assertion based on fucking what? There's plenty of actual details to the leaker story that are coming out about who this guy is and why he chose to do it. But the reality is it doesn't matter. He didn't leak them to be a whistleblower. He was just a fuck around. And I got news for you too. In all practical senses, just like you can't guarantee that someone in your office won't go bipolar and lose their shit and go postal one day, statistically, it's probably not going to happen. But there's no step you can take to eliminate it as a possibility forever and ever. Same thing is true in the intel community. There'll always be the potential for spies. And now, because of technology, there's going to have to be this ratchet up and, to watch out for they have to keep track of so many fucking sources. And there's ways to do it on bases where they limit what you can do while you're on base and stuff. And they did it. And what happened? He took paper copies, took them home, took a picture on his fucking kitchen counter. And then they caught him because of it. That's how this shit works. It did function. Responsibility is about your capability in responding to these things when they happen, not that you can guarantee that they won't in any situation. And even attacking the question of it on those grounds is a lie. It's it's a blame the victim mentality, and I'm not shocked that it comes from Laura Ingraham. But it's a little dumb across the board. And these fuckers, because of the shit that apparently has been reported about what he said on video, those videos are eventually going to make their way to the internet. And believe me, some of the right-wingers are going to be happy he said them, but they're going to be in deep shit if they mention it on Fox News. I wouldn't be shocked if Laura Ingraham saw the video, loved what he says about the anti-Semitic and racist things that he said. I'm sure she might find some of it titillating. But I guarantee if she plays him on her show and says that, she's going to get in deep shit at Fox News, not to mention the public. So she'll go back to just lying about the content of them. But the rest of us are going to see it, and the rest of these assholes who are supporting him are going to go rake stomping. And I'll be here for it. I'll cover it. I got you covered. And I want to thank you guys for coming. Don't forget to subscribe. We're closing in on 50,000. It's coming. We're almost there. And all of you are just legit watchers, and it's a beautiful thing, and I thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow. But one more thing.